Game Sensei. You want to introduce yourself?
Yo, I'm Karyoku, coaching for 5 years, former Challenger team coach player, coach multiple professional players, multiple people to Challenger. Yeah.
All right. So I figured he's qualified to get my head out of my ass. And so here we go, guys. So I'm going to get some coaching today and we're going to see how that looks. So I've got an hour with this dude and we're going to see what he has to say. So right now we're starting on, yeah, my match history and whatnot has been pretty abysmal and I've kind of
Which
told
game
it.
was it that you linked me? Cause I want to download it
Most
myself.
recent.
Okay, the 13-9 game.
Yeah, you don't need to download it. I get the Twitch VOD sent to you.
I I would have more control when I play the
Oh, okay.
replay.
That's fine then.
Although there would be benefits to watching what you're looking at as well. But
Yeah, you can see my camera and whatever, but
mhm.
you do you. This is cool. If this is the way you prefer it, this is how we'll do it.
This is how I'd prefer in the beginning, and
Sweet.
then whenever we get into specifically like you need help with something that you're not able to start implementing, I can start watching your gameplay and see why that is. Okay. So what I was saying earlier was that normally my kind of coaching is very like concept based. And so I would go over just like specifically how to get through lane, wave manipulation, um, roaming, support roaming. We've had a couple of lessons like that recently.
Hmm.
Um, mid game team fights. So I normally go over a concept, but I do sometimes, but for a new student, go over just a replay so you can see I can introduce you to the concepts. So I can do a normal VOD review where I kind of introduce you to the concept, and then in the future would go into them more in depth. Or I can do the replay, and then if I'm gonna mention all these concepts, and if there's something you're like, okay, well, I really want to learn that, we can just start on that the moment you tell me.
Okay, cool.
So I'm gonna give you like a very general lesson until you ask me to dive deep in something. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Like I said, what I'm looking for here is at this point, with as many losses in a row as I have had, it's got to be something that I'm doing. I'm either not carrying hard enough, or I'm not playing well enough, or I need to change my focus to something.
Normally, when it comes to why am I not winning games, it boils down to are you playing your champion in a way to win the game? So let's talk about Brand. Brand is a backline burst pick champion, right? And so if we break that down further, backline means you should be perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. The line of scrimmage is, the midpoint of the threat and your safety. So for example, you're watching my screen, right?
Hmm.
So if this is the lane for you, this is your safety and this is the threat, right? So the line of scrimmage is going to be like in between this,
Hmm.
and then you need to be perpendicular. So you want to stand here. If we're, I'm assuming it's not laning. I'm just trying to use it as an example. In lane, it's a little bit different, but that is the line of scrimmage concept in a very small nutshell.
Hmm.
And so that's the backline archetype for brand. So that's how you're supposed to be positioning. The next thing is that you're a burst champion. Normally, what that means is that, I mean, it gets pretty complicated, but for the low level, what it means is you can hide in bushes, wait for people, and then blow their ass up, right?
Yeah, right.
And then that's like level one. We can go more into that. Like you're gonna have a larger uh, lethal. Like you should be able to notice lethal much earlier than other champions because you burst them out and you
Hmm.
can get out safely, which allows you to do more aggressive plays, which is, for example, like waiting for someone. And very similarly, you're a pick champion, which enables you to go do these kind of rooms as well. But if you had no burst, you would have to bring someone with you, right? You don't have to play with your jungler. In Brand's case, he brings the damage himself, so a lot of times he can do things alone. The other thing that pick really enables you to do is to notice that someone's out of position and to kind of solidify the fact that they're out of position. Like for example, if their mid laner's on the line of scrimmage and is playing like Lux, and you notice that they're mispositioned, and you like flash to stun them, right? For example, or you just W key them.
Hmm.
And so those are like the three archetypes that are the main archetypes of why does a brand player win? It's most likely going to be because of one of those three things. Now, there's obviously secondary defensive archetypes, like your ability to understand, like, oh, this is a moment where I need a pill. Because every champion that's a pick is also a pill. So you can also use your ability to defend somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and depending on how you build your brand, your archetype might change a little bit. So you do basically straight damage. When do you build this for allies?
Usually second
Mm,
or third, depending on what other items I need.
okay. All right. So
So like
just that's just something to keep.
if I have to
Good.
go like Zanya's or something, then I may build that earlier
Okay.
before I
So
build Rylai's.
the archetypes, just keep that in the back of your mind because as we get into the mid to late game, those are the plays I'm going to be looking for to see like how much of an impact is this player having in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like what is your champion good at? Are you playing to your champion's strengths? Okay, so this is a pretty good example of a concept called sequencing, which is just the order of which you decide to use your abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, support. All right, so I believe this should be a 100% kill. If I think just if you play it right, it's 100% kill. So let me kind of explain. All right. So you hit level 2, and you have a gank coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your number one objective in life is to land this Q.
Mm-hmm. I have
Now,
to land the W first for the
yes.
stun, yeah.
Now the prerequisite of landing the Q is to land this W. So whenever you think about the order of which that you're going to use your abilities, you're you cannot risk missing anything. Which means if they can flash your ability, you just can't use your ability. So you have to wait until they are stunned or until they use their flash before you throw your ability, unless you think there's literally no chance that either of those things can happen. In which case, then you could throw your ability.
Okay.
Now, in this situation, especially with these people so like this person so out of position. I mean, um, for this gank,
Mm-hmm.
and so like imagine here's a good way of thinking about it. If this person has no flash, they're dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just not getting away if they have no flash, which means they're gonna have to use flash. Which means so long as you're patient enough to wait for that moment, they're gonna flash, you're gonna W, and then you're gonna Q. But if you're impatient and you try to use those first, then she gets to flash your stun and then maybe survive. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
So
watch the fight from that perspective,
sure,
and then we'll go back.
I was just gonna let you know. I had some misinformation here. I thought on our invade that Ash used flash, so that's why I'm playing up on the Ash like that. Because I didn't think she could flash that.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like I thought she
Yeah.
burned flash on the fiddlestick sphere, and I was very surprised right there to find out she did not.
Okay. Now, just one thing to mention is your positioning around the line of scrimmage. So again, the line of scrimmage concept is your threat compared to your safety. If there is no threat, like in the case where you're getting a gank and you don't think there's any chance to die, then the line of scrimmage kind of doesn't exist. You can kind of go wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, where do they want to run to their
They're
tower, right?
gonna
So you
hug the
kind of know where
wall
they're
and run to the tower. Yeah.
yeah. So they're running in this direction, and so you need to run in this direction if you
Mm-hmm.
believe there's no threat, right? You should be running directly in this direction. Like you're running if you play like football when you're a kid,
Yeah,
like
yeah. I'm
you're giving
chasing the
away
guy
you're
instead
giving
of
away
cutting up
yards.
the. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
see what you're
exactly.
saying.
So
Yeah.
that's an issue because you've given up a lot of space here. You could have been closer to this location probably.
Hmm.
Now, now it goes back to normal. Like this is pretty much normal line of scrimmage. Now, for a bot laner on your backline champions, if you play, actually you play a lot of tanks, but when you're playing your backline champions, the general role in bot lane before you get in the mid game is to stay perpendicular or parallel. Sorry, perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, parallel to your AD carry.
Right.
Um, and so that does require some teamwork, but in solo queue, you kind of have to just do your best to play with your teammate. It's like as this person's walking forward, you guys should stay in a line.
Yep.
And so what happens here is you're kind of just meandering while he's in a 1v2.
Well,
And
to be fair, I didn't expect him to turn into a full minion wave at level 2 and go that deep. I mean, it worked, right? But like at that point, I was like, "Oh shit, he's not leaving." Right? Because he can't tank that minion wave, and I just didn't expect this. So he caught me by surprise. This is a complete solo queue random. I have no idea who this guy is, right?
mm-hmm,
He caught me completely off guard. And then, like, whenever I realized he was going in, I thought he's going to die to tower, so I was going to flash to make that play to get that kill, right? Like, that's the best I can do there whenever I realized. You see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't realize
no,
that's what he was
I
going
completely
to do.
understand. The thing
So,
is, in this instance, that concept still holds true.
mm-hmm.
Like you still should be parallel to your AD carry, and if he decides to be a monkey, you're actually there to help him. And if he decides to back out, then you just walk out with him.
Right.
There's no reason for you to back out before him, is what I'm saying. Unless you thought you were at threat of dying.
Yeah. Right.
So all that stuff that you said is true, but that still means you should have positioned parallel to your AD carry, and that way you don't have to end up flashing in to help him. You're already there,
Right. Okay, that makes
and that's a
sense.
big deal. Like if the butterfly effective league is pretty big, and you not having flashes for 5 minutes, anytime you use your flash or you die, um, those are very big moments.
Okay.
We have a long time until we get those back, right?
Right.
This is just a general thing to mention real fast. Anytime you use health or mana, there should be an idea behind it. And so when I see you walk up, get hit, and just walk back, that pretty much really shouldn't happen unless you're just like you don't understand the range of the enemy champion. But I'm pretty sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably that you had an idea, but it wasn't like fully baked. And so I keep seeing you get in threat range of your opponent. This happened in the first wave too. I just didn't mention it with the Ash. Like, you're getting in threat range of your opponent, but it doesn't seem like you're getting into threat with a reason. Like, oh, I'm getting into threat so I could threat them, and I could hit them back, or I'm getting into threat so I could bait them, or I'm intentionally want them to use their mana because I'm gonna back. Like, there are reasons, but I don't see them right now, and I do see you walking into these ranges
Yeah.
uh, that are real dangerous for you.
Yeah. Level 1 in particular, what I was trying to do is time out when Ash was going for the CS so I could do an auto attack W trade with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I successfully executed on the first two and then missed the third. Like, I got the auto attack off, but she traded me more than I got her. And then Draven went real hard, and I was like, well, okay, and now we're pretty poked, but we got level 2 first anyway.
Yeah, so this is another good example of line of scrimmage. Actually, you notice here you actually do play the role of being a threat to try to protect your Draven. Like, you actually ended up staying parallel with him for a while to try to like just be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you did it intuitively defensively. You just didn't do it offensively. Now, again, the line scrimmage is here, and so our normal correct positioning is going to be perpendicular to the line scrimmage. And so when I see you running face first to the enemy, there seems to be something questionable happening.
I'm getting the stack of uh,
Dark Harvest.
yeah, getting it off the Lee because I know this fight is now over, and so I can
You
get the
100% should die right now. No
how
question.
I'm under
If,
tower.
if they just fight you,
He's already used all of his
if these people
abilities.
just hit you, you're dead.
Well, Lee missed Q, so I'm not
That's
in
fine.
range of him. Ash is the only one that can damage me, and she can't kill me. See what?
That's without Lee Sin doing literally anything, and he had flash
Yeah. Oh well.
and
Okay then.
two abilities. He's just bad.
All right.
If he just flashes EWs the Ash, you're super dead. Like not even close to living because Lee's slowing you and then the Ash is slowing you.
Okay, that's a fair point then.
You'll find that my general idea for how to play well and how to climb for a long time is to just assume the worst possible scenario and outplay it. So
Okay.
assume these people have flash, unless you obviously if you know they don't have flash, if you know they don't have ultimate, that's completely fine. If you know no, if you can see that Aurelia's top, that's fine. But most of the concepts I'm going to teach you is assume the worst and then
Yeah.
try to your best to outplay that.
Yeah. In
Because
that
then when they make a
moment.
mistake, you destroy them.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that moment, I didn't anticipate I was gonna have to go that far for that stack. But then I was like, well, I can get out. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was, yeah, you're right. In hindsight, that's not a good play.
Those are the kind of plays that I'm definitely looking out for why you die. Because that
Oh,
mentality
there's
that you had right there is probably what causes deaths in other
yeah,
games or
there's
maybe
there's
even later in this game.
plenty more of those this game
Gotcha.
where I do either like overly greedy things or I go too far to like set it up.
Yeah. So here we go again with like a. This is the third time now where you're throwing your Q out at trying to either auto combo or just praying. And so, for example, what's an easier way to land this Q? You could wait for Ash
Yeah,
to
just
get
walk
baited
into
to
the
auto
bush.
attack.
Yeah.
You can wait for her to line up. Yeah, once he's against the wall and she's like here, you just throw your Q in this direction. It's like impossible to miss. Um, you wait for her to auto attack. You wait for Draven to hit her with an E. Like you wait for her to use her ability. Like anything that would. There's so many ways of making this Q have a much higher chance of landing than just an open Q. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like here, if you had your Q, she's lined up against the wall. That would have been pretty good. Like right when you see your turn to use an auto attack, that's another time to use your Q. Like just make life easier on yourself. You don't have to try to throw your ability in the hardest situation. I will say this is pretty much the same kind of scenario where I would prefer you to be close to your Draven, not just let him go in alone. I guess here I should explain this maybe. So if he's up like this, just use the circles.
Hmm.
He's in a 1v2, and so these people feel very like little threat in comparison to you being here. Now you
Yeah.
might be thinking, well,
I I'm
my abilities
super
are down, so I'm
yeah,
useless.
I'm super familiar with this. This is fine. I got this.
Okay. Another line of scrimmage concept again, where it, you're playing as if there's threat. I'm not sure whether you actually think there's threat, or maybe you just don't notice echoes coming.
I
One of
didn't
those things are
notice
happening.
Echo was coming until the shield landed on that one.
Hmm. Why not walk up into this bush? Do you know do you think it's warded?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I didn't walk
Okay.
into it.
Yeah, to carry out the pink ward. So bush hiding is nice. That's you trying to use Bird's archetype. I definitely like seeing that. So how does this start? Your opponent hit 6. At least Sona did. What order did you do this? Yeah. So again, very similar situation as the other one, but you kind of force yourself into that situation if you flash first, because then you've already committed so much to the fight that you're just praying that you land your ability, I guess.
Mm.
Um, yeah, the answer to that is if they have, it's the same thing. If they have flash and they can just flash your ability and you have nothing to bait out that flash, then you just can't do this kind of play. Because this play, the way you played it, is completely reliant on them being a monkey and not relying on you being good.
Hmm.
That's not the way to play to improve.
Okay.
Because if they're not a monkey, that literally never works. So
Yeah.
it's so reliant on them being a monkey that um, I'd rather you play it in like any other situation. I actually
I
do play
think
Rant
maybe
a lot,
maybe
but
I'm just or underestimating like
your opponents because you're
yeah.
lower rank now.
Yeah.
That's very common. I've coached that a lot where people are lower ranked than they used to be, and then you don't play it as seriously because of that symbol.
No, I just feel like I'm
That
gonna
symbol.
hit everything. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they'll dodge straight back. They'll do these things that
Hmm.
will, that I can take advantage of because that's been kind of the way it's been for a while. And I'm like, well, balls, that didn't happen, and then I end up burning everything and getting annihilated.
Yeah, and then
So,
even if you're a great player after that window, when you used all your resources, well, there's only so much you can do without all those resources. That's what I was kind of talking about before.
mhm.
It's a big deal when you use these resources. That means for 5 minutes, and most of the game is going to be decided in the first 15 to 17 minutes. And so for both of your flashers um, definitely weren't warranted if the prerequisite was set. And so that's 10 minutes of opportunity lost, right?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to this teleport play, which that's why I kind of gave you a pause because there was a reason to play safely in the earlier gank, and that's if you were anticipating teleport, then you would know that they had more people bottom, and so the all-in bottom play was bad. Which I was just ignoring that concept until now. But so, because if you start thinking about tempo, most of the plays were bad.
Okay, so go a little deeper in that. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. So the crash course is 3 lanes. In each three of these locations, one team can have tempo. Tempo is very advanced, but I almost always simplify it to which team has the most people. That's like level one of getting good at this. And so level one would be if you just open up the map and you just don't consider anything, you just look at the map. Well, in this instance right here, they have 2 people bottom, you have 2 people. It's even, right? Middle is even because this guy's isn't that close, and then top is even. Level two to improve at this would be turn off the map, and if you don't know where the enemy jungler is, you assume they are everywhere. So that means they have 2 people top, 2 people middle, and two people bottom. And then the next level of this is tracking teleports and just global ultimates. So in this situation, they actually have 3 people bottom because they can have an Aurelia teleport and Lisa could be here. That means they also have 3 people middle and they have 2 people top. And I went over that fast, but
No, I
and then
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
but I'm gonna backtrack again because we have teleport in our mid laner. So really, there's 2 people top, 2v2 top, 2v3 middle, 3v3 bottom. I normally go over that much slower and with examples.
No, I understand. I understand exactly what you're saying. So that's cool. We're good.
Alright. So if we play through the replay with those things in mind, any aggressive push where you guys didn't have the players just doesn't actually make sense from like because it again relies on their top laner being bad instead of you playing well. Even this play, if they have a ward, they just teleport and then they just 4-man dive, which would be like pretty common at a higher rank. So again, if we keep that in mind, so we still know there's a teleport there. Fast forward, see Lee Sin. So for example, this is already a play that's dangerous and shouldn't really be made because they just teleport behind you and there's no way you win. Unless you are preempting your mid laner, like um, what I do is I ping Kane is alive and I ping Kane teleport is available, so I make it clear that that's what I'm asking for. But this already should really not happen because the teleport just comes out and then you lose. Now, to be fair, you guys are playing double burst champion, and I kind of talked about earlier when playing burst champions, you can afford to take bigger risks because that action happens really fast, and you can uh, see like, okay, did we kill him? No, then just get the hell away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So burst champions can take a little bit more of a risk than most champions.
And see, like right there, I thought he was backing off because I didn't know he had, like, I didn't track his heal,
Hmm.
right? And I was like, oh, well, he can't get this. And then all of a sudden he's ass forward into two people. I'm like, well, oh, okay. And
Yeah, I hear you.
Draven to trade kills is a fine thing because he gets more out of it than they do, and they lose their ADC loses the AXP, which is fine because our wave was bigger and about to smash tower. But like right here, I'm like, okay, I'm 6, they're 4 and 5, Draven's 4. All I have to do is get him to engage. So I'm pinging myself and pinging my ult and flash are both ready.
Hmm.
So that's what you were saying. That's what I was just trying to get him, like, get him back a little bit. Throw an E. I'm gonna ult him. Right.
Yeah, so you can. I think that's okay. The risk is obviously this teleport on a 4-0 Aurelia top lane,
Mm-hmm.
and so to go along with your pings, I'd want to see either you calling Echo to shadow you guys to make sure this plays a little safer. Although again, it's 4-0 Aurelia, so you might need to ping Kane teleport and have Echo come to make this not a gamble. Because unless those people are ready, this is definitely a gamble. Because the teleport comes out
Man,
and the
like,
person teleports, you guys are super dead.
I mean, I'll tell you this, and like maybe this is me like being
What,
whatever.
you're not going to believe in your teammates to do things? I assume that's
No,
what you're
no,
saying.
no. It's not. No, that's not necessarily it. It's that, in my opinion, like I don't see that level of map awareness even through platinum.
Oh,
So like to set that play up and then act as though it's going to be in motion, I don't see that happening. You
wait,
know, it,
from your teammates or from their Aurelia? What are you
both.
saying here?
I mean both. I know like it is rare that I even see effective TP plays all the way through to like low diamond. Occasionally I see them in plat, and I should plan for them more. And tracking global defense is a weakness of my game. Looking at the map
As most people, it's
enough,
hard.
yeah, and looking at the
It's
map
hard to do
enough
this
is a
concept while you're playing.
yeah. Looking at the map is also a weakness of my game. Like I get too focused in like the 2v2,
Hmm.
and so I'm very much on the line with you there. But it's
So this
like
is
I don't know, like I feel like I can. Here, you can see in a minute. Like there's a dragon play where I ping dragon, and this is what we're gonna do, and then they like choose a fight mid, and I have to follow it, and then I end up dying for it. We end up losing dragon because we didn't go there.
okay.
You know what I mean?
So I'm gonna keep on holding to talk about it whenever we get. Which is it? This dragon in a second
Probably.
or a different dragon? Okay. So,
Well, it'd be the
but
next one, I think. I'm not sure. I
okay,
don't remember, but because this,
I
like I
got you.
said, it's 3 hours ago. I've got kids and whatever. So that was
Got you. Got
before
you.
I put them to bed. But
So
anyway.
this goes back to what I mentioned the very like earlier. is that the correct play in my eyes is always going to be the play that considers the worst case scenario, right?
Mm,
And so long as you are considering and respecting the fact that Aurelia can teleport, you would never flash here because then you guys just both die. Teleport dead, right?
right. And two things I did not account for was exactly what you just said, and that Sona hit 6. I didn't see that she
Yeah,
hit 6.
yeah. So, like I said, it's not. If it wasn't Aurelia, I would say like maybe you can get away with it because of the double burst. But Aurelia is gonna. You guys are not getting away. Like the moment you decide to commit and she teleports, you guys are just doomed. Especially because she's 4-0.
Mm,
Um. So so you do need to call for your team, and we'll get to this with the dragon as well. I always tell the people I'm coaching that unless I see you set up the play, it's on you. If you call for Echo to come and you ping Can't Alive teleport, and then you make the play knowing that you communicated what you're going to need if the enemy team plays well, and then they don't do it, sure, you try to do the best option. But
mm,
if you just assume they'll never do it, or you don't ping, then it's on you.
right.
This is sick by them. Also, just we talked about this and we see the Sona doing it really well here, where she realized there's no threat with Aurelia coming, and so she ignores the line of scrimmage. That's actually a very good play from the Sona.
Mm,
She just ran right past it because it doesn't exist anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. So in my mind, like they just got the kills. They're doing dragon. We saw that they ran past our boards. Most likely they get the dragon and then they back, right?
Mm,
So I'm going to talk about more of a macro decision and a tempo decision, where I think this is a great opportunity for you to go roam somewhere and just leave because
okay.
your Draven's not going to need your backing, and so you go play with Echo, you go play with Kane, and you try to go make a play somewhere while you have the time. Going bottom, you're not going to have really much to do because even in the worst case scenario, the lane's pushed and Draven can chill. Even that's a pretty good example. Like I would love for you to be somewhere in the top side of the map with your like. This should be a bounty hunting play. Is what I'm getting at. You
Mm,
fiddle Kane going for the bounty top while you have the opportunity because they probably can't do it alone at this point, right? There, the Aurelia is real strong, but
mm,
three, when you know that the other players cannot be there, so this is just a tempo play. You know that there's only going to be one player here. It's like impossible for anyone else to be here because we just saw everyone down here. So long as you beeline your ass over and you call for Kane, you guys at least give yourself the opportunity of getting an 800 gold kill on top lane that transitions into Rift Herald most likely, which puts you close. That plays close to being like almost a 2,000 gold play if done correctly. Whereas going bottom, you're babysitting your 80 carry, which is a 0 gold play basically.
mm,
So I, this is one of those big things where if you're trying to carry and you're trying to have impact on your games, these are the kind of plays you have to make. Like you need to try to go go to the location that gives your team the most amount of gold constantly, and that you do that by using the tempo drill of understanding well how many people are there, where can you go, right?
okay.
All right, we have like 20 left. So, is there any topics so far you want me to dive in deep, or do you want to get into the general mid game because we're getting close to doing the mid game
Yeah, let's just do the mid
team
game.
fight positioning? Although, like everything, things are gonna blend together in League of Legends, all the concepts.
Mm,
Okay, so worst case scenario, they do the dragon, and then Lee Sin's running directly bottom right now. You have no flash, Draven has no flash, and you do have double teleport. So it's a high level. This actually could be an intentional bait to get them to gank you, and then you double teleport. But that's pretty high level, and again, I would only give credit if you pinged
That was not what I was going for.
it. So in this case, we actually see that where Lee Sin is. So this play becomes like much safer, and it's actually getting close to me wanting, like, depending on what happens in lane. Okay, just I actually think that's fine. Sick. All right, cool. What I was actually getting at is that you could use the fact that you have more people bottom to go for a bottom double teleport and just dive as well. But if you don't need it, you don't need it. If you just get the kill, that's good too.
Yeah. I just killed the shit
So
out of him.
you guys are chilling. So you use your tempo. So and after you get this kill, you have tempo, right? I mean, technically you already had tempo because you had double teleport. But if we ignore that for now, you got a kill and it made it a 2v1, right? At least for a moment while we know Lee Sin was top a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so you decided to use that opportunity to go for this tower plates, which was the best option, I think. Um, but were other options. I just want to go over a little bit more about tempo. There were options for clearing because you actually knew there were pink wards, so you can go set up Fidgeon while it's safe. There was options for calling for a teleport and just going for the 3-man dive on the Sona instead of you guys just trying to make it happen yourselves. You can just ask for help, so it's like nearly guaranteed. And then everything else would have just been like a normal roam call, like just asking someone to roam down so they don't have to teleport if you think you have the time. If this ward wasn't here, there'd be more options. Like, for example, you guys walk around again. This is a little bit advanced, but I just want you to see that there's so many different ways of making sure you're actually impacting the game. So you guys walk over as if like as if you push back, right? You kill the ward from over the wall. You walk in the bush. You wait for her to come and kill her in between the lane, especially because it's likely that Sona's in the back, and so it's going to be 2v1.
Mm.
And worst case scenario, you have double teleport to bail you out of the play. So there were a lot of options here, and I do think going for the tower is still a good option. Like, it might still be the best option, but I want to mention that there are always more options. There's lots of different things you can do to try and make sure you're having the most amount of impact. So you guys are rich, since that you're backing here.
Gotta bank that money. Come back and win harder.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, you're walking back into freaking the hardest CC lane.
Yeah, I know,
Um,
right? But oh well, we'll figure it.
with a Lysandra teleport on deck, and you have no flash, and neither does Draven. So this is very dangerous to push. Ideally, I think you would have wanted to freeze here like 100%. Like, you guys are Omega dead if there's a ward behind you.
Right.
At any point from now on, if there's a ward behind you, you guys are just dead. Because there's no way you survive with. Because anything hits you, you're dead for sure. And Lysandra would be able to pick one of you guys off regardless. Actually, just for out of curiosity, yeah, you guys are dead.
Yeah.
So Lysandra was a strong player. This is just she gets her kill middle, then she might back and then teleport, or she might just immediately teleport, claw over. Again, if they are good, Ash went an arrow until Lysandra uses her snare. Unless you guys are like doing something like super free where like it was impossible to miss. Like this Ash arrow is like really hard to miss actually, because you're close to a wall. So if she shoots you like this, it's really hard to miss unless you literally go in this direction, which is really weird. So you guys are Omega super dead based on tempo. So just keep that like most of everything is still good to learn from here, but from a holistic point of view, like you guys are dead, so everything you do here is already bad. Now this situation I think is a little bit different than the other two, where I think it's completely fine to let him die if he's just doomed, right? The other cases I don't think he was doomed, and so playing
Well,
parallel for the
he
threat
was
is fine.
100% doomed in that one because
Yeah, yeah,
I had no. He got shot after I had just fired off abilities,
yeah,
so
yeah. I think
I
whenever
couldn't
someone's
do anything.
doomed, they let their ass die.
Hmm.
Interesting. I do think theoretically this is bad because I think it again relies on them being bad as opposed to playing well. Oh, the knight's pretty nice. Well, just to explain so you understand what I mean, is that if
If,
Ash
yeah, if
just
she
understands like
dodges
her
that
limits and
or
just
misses that, I'm just dead and Center runs me down anyway. Or if she just
well,
stays
I would
back
say
to W
yeah,
me on
that's
the
the easier way.
cooldown, yeah,
Yeah,
then I'm just dead. Yeah.
because I wasn't gonna say like you don't have to assume like she's like the greatest scripter in the world or anything. If she just plays and just chills back and just lets you wait, like sits behind, and then the moment you decide to blow your ability, then walks up, you're already doomed.
Hmm.
So it completely relies on her like walking up like a dumbass. Like there was no rush for her. She should have just chilled here. Like basically, the moment you turned around to use like your ability on her, if she turns around, you're already dead from Sona. So she didn't even have to do anything. This actually reminded me for you being like a higher ranked player and then having to play on a lower rank. So I coach a lot of people like who I coach and they maybe were gold and like now they're like diamond or something. And they when they start to finally hit their wall, um, where it starts getting harder to climb, they're so used to winning like 70% of the games, they get kind of upset whenever they don't win anymore, right? And then
Hmm.
what happens a lot of the times is they start smurfing, and then after they start smurfing, a lot of the things that they needed to learn and implement, they've reached diamond, aren't necessary anymore, and they literally forget. Like you would imagine, like oh they learned it, they're gonna have it. No, like they will actually forget how to do those things, and then have to get another lesson on the same concept.
Hmm.
This happened so many times. It's so
Like
common.
for me, I played with, like I said, we do the podcast, whatever. I don't play with diamond players, right? I play with like silvers and plats and whatever, and I can see like that my game is diminished, right? Like,
Hmm.
there's no doubt there. I'm not where I was like 2 years ago at all. But at the same time, I've also learned some habits that I don't enjoy. Like,
That's where I was getting at. Is that
yeah,
you
it's
get
like
bad habits. Yeah.
I don't trust anybody to follow up on anything because it just doesn't happen. It happens that they don't more often than they do. And this was kind of an unusual Draven game because like this guy, he had the bloodthirst. I wish I would have trusted him more.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there were a couple of plays where I hesitated because I didn't think he was going to do it, and then he surprised me.
Hmm.
And like I, like if I were in a diamond solo queue game, I would be a lot I would be a lot thirstier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. So I wanted to pause this because this is the dragon you mentioned before,
No,
and I'm gonna
this is
show
not.
you.
This isn't the
Oh, is this a
dragon.
different dragon?
Yeah, it's a
It's
different
another
dragon.
dragon.
Yeah,
um.
yeah. This is not the one I pinged. We were at mid,
Okay.
and they picked a fight, and then the Draven actually I think is the one that picked the fight because he thought he had a kill.
All right. So I want to go over the line of scrimmage concept on this dragon. Okay.
Okay.
So you have no vision of this area, and you have all the vision over here, which means the only possible threat location is this location. You are a backline champion. You should be perpendicular, right? That's the
Mhm.
way this should start. So where Draven is, like you guys should be chilling on the backside, knowing that the only possible threat until you solve the Lee Sin is over here, and he's still pretty far away. Now, so you see, this is the enemy, and you're perpendicular, and you should be back, unless you think you can actually kill her. But it's Lysandra with ultimate. Now the issue, like I think you're okay positioned there. The issue is that as you this line of scrimmage starts pushing towards you, because she is a threat, definitely. The enemy champions show up on your wards over here, right?
Mhm.
Which creates another line of scrimmage for you. And now it starts back here, but it's very quickly encroaching. And so whenever this starts happening, it how you visualize things is up to you, obviously. Um, I a lot of times I do think of two lines of scrimmage, but I normally draw it as a curved line, like like this, right?
Mhm.
Now again, our job as the backline champion is to be perpendicular to this line. You kite almost towards the line. It's as if you don't think any of these people are a threat, or you didn't notice them, which is more likely.
No, I did
Or
actually see them.
you're more focused on these people, or on Lysandra, I would assume.
I did see them. What I was trying to do is I had my ult up and I was trying to zone them out because they were going to come in as a pile. And I was
Okay.
hoping that either they would push out and attack Lysandra and push her out and buy us time for the rest of the team to either get there, which apparently I was dumb for because I didn't know Fiddlesticks didn't have TP. Like that I did not know going into this. And
Mm-hmm.
I did not see Ash, but I knew that Lee and Sona were together because I saw them.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I can zone those two out with my ult, and all I have to do is not hit by Sona ult, or even if I do, they're not going to be able to come in and take this dragon because Draven will kill them.
Okay. So
If
I
I,
think this is very similar to the other play then, where I think for those things to be true, you would have to assume they're monkeys.
yeah,
Because very easily, let's just assume that their objective is just kill you and then kill your team. Lysandra just flash ults you, and then you're just dead,
yeah,
right? Because you get flash ulted and then into Lee Sin QQ'd at any moment here. Even flash W, if she really wanted. Oh wait, oh Ash actually had all so it's a bug on the thing, which means the play could have happened forever ago. Like let's just assume they wanted you dead. There are so many ways for you to be dead. E snare Ash ult. Um, he just ward hops early so that he can Q from far range. She flash ults you. Uh, he runs at you, run at him. He ward hops close, alt, and then you're just doomed no matter what happens. Like there's so many ways that you're a dead man if they want you to be a dead man. Like so many ways,
mm-hmm.
right? And so I think you thinking you can defend this solo with like because what you're saying to me is that you don't believe this line of scrimmage exists because you don't believe there's a threat. Because we kind of thought about that. If you don't think there's a threat, or you think you're such a bigger threat that again that they're not a threat, then yeah, sure you can do whatever you want. But if there is a threat, then you need to play to your backline archetype and just chill out. Just play perpendicular. Don't force the play, right?
Okay.
No, it's just Lee Sin. He had such a good opportunity here. If he just does a ward hop to next to you to alt you into Draven, that's just such a sick play. In which case you die and he does, by the way. It's another way that you could have died. And so when the fight ends up being like this, I could predict it just based on the line of scrimmage. I don't even have to know the level of the game. I just have to understand the archetypes of the champ. I don't even need to know which champions it is. I need to understand the archetypes that each champion is and how you guys are positioned based on the line of scrimmage, and I can tell you what's going to happen. Like, oh, my backline champion is frontlining an initial 4v3. That's just bad already, right? Like, it's already such a bad intro to the
Mm-hmm.
fight. All the mechanic stuff I don't really care about because talking about that's not going to help that much. I want you to be able to see the game a little bit differently so you can start uh, impacting whether you want to lose harder. So I guess I should have mentioned he definitely is still poke archetype, which is still a secondary archetype. Although there's a big difference between Leandries and not Leandries. I would venture to say you're not really a significant poke in the mid to late game until that Leandry is finished.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that defend to stall play makes a lot more sense when you are that rallies Leandri's
Brand,
brand.
yeah.
And if you get that far in the last game, I see this happen a lot where your archetype is one way in the last game because you're later in the game, you have your items, and your champion is kind of set in a new playstyle, and then you go into the next game thinking you're still that playstyle. I see that all the time. Like that's very common on like champion people that play like Master Yi or champions that as the game goes on they get new archetypes. You start thinking that way, and then you play another game where you're not that archetype anymore, and you just don't play to your champion's strength at that point of the game. There's been a lot of teleports plays in this game actually.
Yeah, in this game, yeah. This game is
That was
unusual
great.
in
That was
that
good.
regard. Yeah.
That was a great teleport.
Hmm.
So you
Like I
guys have
said,
tempo.
this game is one that I thought we could have won. You know what I mean? Like, and that's been a
I
rarity
mean, of
for me
course.
lately. Is that the games have either just been like crazy stomps or, you know, I have somebody like I said, those games that they happen but they're not like high percentage, like AFK troll, whatever. I've had an
Yeah. Although
unusual amount of
I
those
think
lately.
that's a direct correlation to how well you're playing, right? If you're playing well enough in the early game that because it's like you can't ignore the
Self-fulfilling
mentality
prophecy
difference,
kind of
right?
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So like, yeah, I
Uh,
kick the shit out of everybody. It's less likely that somebody's gonna rage quit because we're winning.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's still negative variance like crazy.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, like I
but
said,
we
I
already
don't
know
put
from
a lot
people's.
of I don't put a
God.
lot of stock into that whole like, oh yeah, it's you're losing because everybody's AFK on you, but I definitely have in the short run. You know what
Mm,
I mean? Like that's a short-term, long-term problem to me. You know what I
mm,
mean?
yeah. So what I wanted to point out in this little skirmish is that again you throwing out like an open queue where it's not really based on oh this is gonna be easier to land. Like you can wait for knock up from whatever. You can wait for her to be actually hitting the cane so that she's locked in place. Um, you can wait for her to jump on you. There's just a lot of scenarios here where you can just wait for her to not be moving instead
Hmm.
of trying to guess where she is moving. Like basically, if you had it now and she's so committed to fighting, she's not thinking about dodging your ability right now. You
Right.
know what I mean? And so it's like free right now, but you threw it in like the harder. You made it hard on yourself.
Yeah, literally one half of a second too early, and yeah.
I always tell people like, especially in the support world, dude. The number one thing for support when people ask me like, how do I get diamond like from diamond like into the challenger level in the support? It's patience.
Yeah, hit your
Like
shit.
yeah, it's patience. It's like the better you are at this game, the more patient you are with your abilities. Like almost 100% of the time, because there's almost always a better opportunity to use them than just throwing them out. I actually did hit her barely, but I mean that's such a big difference because in the other scenario, she gets stunned, she gets your passive, she gets hit by another ability,
Hmm.
which probably gives Draven like the freedom to actually hit her, which means she probably dies if
Right.
you do the Q in the other way.
This
All
I
right, so
don't need to
let's
be chasing this with them. I could just let them chase this.
yeah. All right, so tempo play. Now I will say that there's actually not that much going on the map right here. Um, there's not that many options. The quickest option for you guys to do is to just do a group mid siege, and your team's not a great sieging team. So even though you are players, it's not the greatest moment. And so I would say the highest level decision to be made here is to the highest level would be to have the one person push and then you and Kane or Echo, like you and somebody to go chill here, knowing that they're going to reply to this pressure on spawn, and then you try to just three man someone or catch like someone running through the jungle. That'd be like the highest level thing that you could do here because it's not a great play. So that means the only thing left
Yeah, as you
is going
go
to be
fishing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So this is a decent fishing play. Although I would say that this is high enough variance that, and you have enough gold that if you decide to back and um, go set up with a teammate somewhere else immediately, I would think that's fine. Anything besides those two things, I would think is questionable because you have enough gold that you can just back.
Mm-hmm.
So you went from one chase to another chase.
Yep. Went fishing. Cause like I saw this guy was engaged in a fight mid, and I'm like, oh shit, I gotta see what I can do to help that guy. And
Mm-hmm.
then back. See, that's a lot of my problem. Is at least in my like thought process prior to watching this game, is I do too much to try to salvage
Yeah,
things.
that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and so like that's a problem.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier with like it's a fine line of like sometimes you do need to let people die, and sometimes you need to play parallel with them. And it's a fine line because trying to keep people try to make up for their mistakes is almost always a mistake. You have to play well for yourself. Like you shouldn't have died down here earlier. You shouldn't have been in these chasing scenarios. But you're trying to like be useful to your team, like in the immediate. But you have to kind of give yourself a break. And if they're not pinging for you, if you weren't, especially if you weren't close to them in the first place, their decision making shouldn't have been based on whether you're going to come in the first place, right? So it's not really on you. And there's almost always something more likely that you can actually get done. Now, if you're playing Bard and you're fast as hell and you can go over walls, it's a
Mm-hmm.
little different. But
Right.
again, you have to play to what your champion strengths. And you are no mobility, slow ass brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even when you get to the fight, like you have to land abilities to even be useful. So like even some of the times when you finally get there, you can't actually get anything done.
Mm.
Ooh, I'm surprised you didn't throw that ability here. Wait, I want to see what you saw. I think what you saw might be different from what I see. I actually think you played this good here. Oh, you didn't see it. Okay, that's why. Nice. It's far though. Oops. This is very monkey.
Wait,
We're together now though.
are you talking about
Okay, so
just the
again, you have
way that
tempo.
this devolves and everybody's just running around in circles around mid here?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we're up player, and so that almost always means you should be making a play that's on this side of the map. And
Mm-hmm.
so in this situation, that means you can call for a Baron play, or not Baron, a Rift Herald, although it's going to go away in 20 seconds, so you can do that. You can call for the mid play with dive. You actually have decent dive champions, especially if everyone's ready. Although this is one of the few scenarios where just like the top scenario, I do think an immediate back reset with your team into dragon setup is also good because if you guys go for a play now, like let's say you go for that mid play and it doesn't work, now their enemy is back with full HP and spent their gold, and you guys are kind of in a weird spot where you can't really back anymore because then they get the dragon. So this is
Mm-hmm.
one of those weird spots where backing immediately isn't actually a good play because it sets up for the next play. Okay. So is this a predictable outcome?
So this is where
Actually,
I
you have enough
was.
vision. You 10
This
minutes,
is
I
where
think.
I was pinging to go to the dragon.
Oh, earlier? I guess I didn't
Mm-hmm.
notice.
At some point, I pinged the dragon because I think it's about to pop. Yeah, dragon spawning. No, that's their ping. Is that their ping?
Yeah, it's Lysandra. Aurelia.
Son of a bitch.
It might have been earlier, or
Yeah, it might have been
maybe
earlier. I don't
said
know.
it and thought of it, but didn't ping it maybe in the
Who
actual game.
knows? Who knows? But I could swear I pinged that because I was pinging like that's the next objective that we need to go to. It was right
Kill.
after this part because I set the vision there and there, and then I was like,
Things
okay,
are
let's
alternate.
go, and then we all started to go, and then
So
he's back mid, and so I'm like, well, shit.
yeah, but this is one of those. Again, like I said, it's a thin line. What you ping here is dragon is spawning, ping dragon and ping assistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because there's another part of this where you're trying to stay parallel with someone, but if you know they're doomed, then all you're really doing is encouraging them to stay and die. So a lot
Right.
of the times when I see someone's doomed, I intentionally don't get anywhere near them so they don't think I'm trying to make the play.
Right.
Because you'll encourage someone to stay by coming, by standing with them. If you know the correct play is to go play your burst archetype and hide in this bush, if you know you need to go D-War, if you know, like let's say the dragon was up more sooner, that you need
Yeah.
to go over there, just go over there and encourage them to come with you instead of staying with them and hoping that they turn around. Because then you're kind of
Well,
just
see,
hoping
and
they.
this is where I was torn on this one because it's like, okay, so every time that I've backed away, this guy has not followed me back, and then he ends up like trying to 1v whatever under tower and gets one kill, and it's like, well, shit, I should have stayed with him. You know what I mean? Like all the plays
Well, no,
earlier
no.
that you were like, oh, stay parallel. It's like that's whenever I left, and I'm like, okay, this is over, and then he's like, ah, and he goes and he gets something. I'm like, oh fuck. All
Hmm.
right, I'm not gonna leave this guy alone anymore. And then I don't, and then that happens. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So there's two answers, like two like ways of improving at that kind of situation. It's one is to be more aggressive with your pings, like ping on Draven, ping danger, and then ping that you're going somewhere else. So a lot of my answer to a lot of things when it comes to teamwork is how well are you communicating your thoughts to your teammates? And we don't see very many pings from you in this game.
right, right,
The other part is what I've mentioned before. If people are doomed, you let them die. Like it's not, oh, I should have been with them. If you know they were doomed in that instance, just let like ping, ping them back. And if they stay there and die, that's on them.
yeah, okay,
Like, you do your job.
yeah. No,
You
that's
know.
fair. That's fair.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up. I'm gonna go play some Black Desert.
No, you're good, man. You're good. But pick whatever you want to talk about and wrap it up.
So, well, you tell me. Do you have any? We went over a lot of concepts. We talked about line of scrimmage a lot. We talked about your archetypes of brand a lot. Um, we talked about a lot about sequencing because throwing that ability based on what your opponent's doing has to do with sequencing. It's like what order do you do your things in, and waiting is an action, right? So we talked a lot about sequencing. I didn't talk about kiting with you. We talked about tempo. So those are like the four main things. So those are all big concepts that I normally have like a single lesson for each one of those things. But like I said, I thought doing a general lesson with you was going to be a good idea. And
No,
so
it's good. This is what I
line
was
of
looking
scrimmage,
for anyway.
tempo, yeah,
So
line of
I've
scrimmage,
got
tempo, kiting. Oh, good.
I've got down here as my like three takeaways, right? Which there should be more, but these are the three that I'm gonna try to like
Yeah.
actively work on.
Yeah.
Hold abilities longer, ensure it hits. Look for
Mm-hmm.
opportunities to roam when ADC is fine. Respect enemy abilities more.
Okay. So that last one
Mm-hmm.
is too specific because that same principle would be fixed by the line of scrimmage. You you want to start working on envisioning that line of scrimmage because that line of scrimmage has to do with where the threat is, which requires you to understand what or requires you to respect their abilities. So if you fix this, you fix that automatically.
Okay.
And so you want to work on envisioning the line of scrimmage, which will in turn help you understand what the threat is
Well,
and
yeah.
understand
Let
where
me
to
let me
position.
explain what I guess I mean by that. It's like whenever I'm playing, I'm constantly evaluating like what's my damage potential on this target, like how much am I going to if I hit this chain of CC or if I hit this combination of abilities, how close are they going to be to death? Do I have burst potential on them? Are they going to die if my partner does this, and this amount of damage, right? Um, so I'm constantly weighing those options about how I'm going to kill them, and I'm not doing that with them on me. because I
Yeah.
think that mentally I'm just in the mindset of, well, I'll outplay it, which
Okay.
is a dangerous mindset.
Yes.
Because sometimes I do, and I'm like, I'm a god, but I'm like, why am I doing that? Like, why am I putting myself in a position where I have to make an outplay
Yeah.
when I could just not and do the more consistent thing? So that's what I
Yeah.
mean by respect enemy abilities more is like I need to be thinking about how are they going to burst me? Because
Yes.
like that time that I ran forward into Sona and missed the cue because I got the monkey play where they flashed and I
Hmm.
didn't hit them, and then I ended up getting smoked, and they TP'd in behind us for good measure to like really kill the shit out of us. That was on
Yeah.
me. You know, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like I just need I need the impossible. I need a golden bullet, and that doesn't exist. So I don't know. I just need to
No.
work on one piece at a time.
Yeah. That's definitely the way I would suggest. I think the last thing I would mention, and it's almost the same thing I just mentioned, which is even that point can be generalized to assume the worst. If you're always assuming the worst, you're assuming all those things that you just said. Like, oh,
Hmm.
they're gonna hit these abilities and I'm gonna die. Right? And so if you're always assuming the worst, that kind of gets another one of those things that kind of get fixed automatically. Like,
Well,
oh,
like
I'm assuming that
let me
teleport.
ask
I
you
assume
this,
this gank.
and I'm not trying to eat more of your time, but this is just a question that, like, from a viewpoint, I was getting back and forth on this. Because like
Hmm.
whenever people are trying to improve and they're trying to improve rapidly, I tell them to like go for hyper aggressive plays. Like go for the flashes and try to hit shit and make shit happen. Like go for it, and if it doesn't work out, learn from it. Right? But the worst
Hmm.
thing you can do is like paralyze yourself by thinking, "Oh, well, I'm just going to die if I do that, or I'm just going to do this if I do that." Like it's okay to die if you learned something from it. If it was an execution thing, then you fix the execution. If it was like a concept thing, then it's a bad concept. And like you come back to it over and over and over again and reevaluate where the line is so you can play appropriately aggressive. How do
Hmm.
I balance that with assuming the worst? Because it seems like I have built whenever I first got to diamond, I did it by like ruthlessly smashing my opponent over and over and over again on those kind of plays. And if I like assume the worst of like, oh man, they're gonna do this and then I'm gonna die, like it just feels like it would be polarized or like it
That
would
they can bump heads. Yeah.
yeah, like it would
Now,
freeze my
I do think
ability to act aggressively or whatever, like seize opportunity.
so. This is what you do. You assume the worst. However, you wait for that moment where you know you have tempo, and then you go balls out. You wait for, oh, we know that everyone's at dragon. I'm gonna 3-man this top side.
Hmm.
It's just about playing for your moments, and in your moments, then you go all in. You just have to do it whenever it makes the most sense, as opposed to doing it all the time whenever you think it could. Like you're hoping something works because you think you're thinking at like even like a higher level than we're even talking about. Where you're like, oh, I know that this damage, blah blah blah, this cooldown, I can win. But that's I think you're skipping like the easier step, which is if you just base your plays off of tempo and the number of people that are in the area, and then whenever you have the advantage in those situations, then you go all in. You're going to find a much sweeter balance of playing safe when you need to play safe and playing really aggressive when you need to play aggressive.
All right. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to obtain more information from the map
Yes, definitely.
because that
Data
is
acquisition is like the number one way of improving at the game.
yeah. Because I don't have enough data to do a lot of
Yes,
the things that you're saying, right? Because
yes.
like I'm almost to the point where I've conceded a TP play as being like, well, if they make it, fuck,
A lot of people are like that. Yeah.
and like I'm not accounting for that like I should be, because like I told you a minute ago, at the elo that I'm at. it's rare that people will even use it for anything other than, well, I can go back to my turret real quick. And by God, I am absolutely hating that when ADCs take teleport, it makes me want to kill myself. Because it's like, now we can't 2v2. Like, you fucked us, you know. But, oh, but, you're supposed to use that to get an early critical item and then go back and turn it into this, like, bullying sense of lane dominance because they can no longer trade with you and you win. But they don't know how to do that. Right? So they just use it to get back to lane. And it's like, this is the greediest, stupidest thing ever because it's on such a long cooldown and you're not making it useful. Right? But that's a whole nother bitch session, I guess. But, all right. Do you have anything else that you want to tell me to specifically improve on other than those four things that I have written down, like something concrete I can do to like turn a difference in some of this like streak I'm on?
Yeah. So I would say start with playing the game, envisioning the line of scrimmage all the time. And even before you play games, go watch your replays and envision the line of scrimmage in your replays for a while. Like you need to build up that sense. Like if you have a visual memory, maybe you can literally see a line in your head while you're playing. Um, if not, you need to construct the line, a feeling of where that line is. That would be my first step for you. Like,
Okay.
and to play the game that entirely that way. That's part of when you always assume the worst. Then you give yourself a lot of accountability because then anytime a play goes bad, you can never say, "Oh, I didn't think they can do that." No, because that's not how assuming the worst is. It's either you
Yeah.
didn't think about all the options and you failed in acquiring the information, um, or you just made a mistake, right?
Hmm.
Or you just played it wrong. And so it get accountability with the drills is like the number one way. So for example, if you study line of scrimmage and then you play your games knowing that your intention is to be good at line of scrimmage, and then you go watch your replay, you have me watch your replay, and you are not positioning correctly, there's no excuse anymore. It's just, oh, I made a mistake. Because I think that so long as there's excuses, it's real hard to learn. Because if you don't think there's a problem, it's really hard to improve, right?
Yeah.
You gotta realize there's a problem so you keep tackling it, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely, a lot of my problem is like, I need to play more cerebrally. I feel like I'm turning on autopilot in the mid game. Where I'm just kind of go to a place where the heat map is the hottest instead of like actually planning anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a problem. I think I'm not obtaining stuff from the mini map. I'm not like, I need to be taking in more information and and then basing, because it's like it's impossible to make those decisions when you're not. You don't have, you just might as well flip a coin and go somewhere. You know.
Gotcha.
So, okay.
All right, man.
All right, thanks for the help, man. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I'll hit you up here in a bit after I figure out what I need to do this
Yeah,
and
work
try
on that line of
try
scrimmage
to
concept.
implement some of this shit. So,
Yeah.
all
I'll
right,
have a video on the line of scrimmage soon.
cool, cool.
All right. I'll see ya.
All right, thanks, man.
Peace.